Story 1. Roadblock. My dad worked for the police force for 20 years. When he was just a rookie, he had to conduct nighttime roadblocks, meant to catch drunk drivers and the sort. They had done it many times before, and this night started out pretty routine. That was until a Toyota Corolla drove up with what looked like a white blanket on its roof, flapping in the wind. They thought it was weird, but did not see anything else amiss. One of the guys even joked that the guy driving must be multitasking, drying his laundry while driving home at the same time. The laughing stops when that lone car came closer, and all of them saw what looked like a woman in white lying face down on top of the car. She seemed to slide like a slug back and forth until she disappeared behind the car, as it eventually came to a stop in front of them. It took a few minutes for my dad's team to recompose themselves, as they stared at each other, as if to say, "Did you guys see this?" The most senior of them finally stepped up, asked the standard questions. There was a noticeable quiver in the voice of the driver as he made conversation, so they asked him to step out of the vehicle. My dad's team inspected the whole vehicle, including the trunk, and found nothing strange or out of place. The driver was a good-looking staff sergeant in the Army who was heading home from a company event that had been held earlier that evening. He admitted that he had had a few cans of beer at the party and said that he had laid down in his bunk to sleep it off. Hence, while he was driving home so late, it was around 4 a.m. at this point, he passed their sobriety test, and they started to ask him if he saw anything weird during his drive. Initially, he said no, but after a few more questioning, he mentioned that he had to swerve to avoid what looked like a bird that was flying upside down. It was spooky, but he didn't think that detail was worth sharing to the police officers at first. The senior officer told the guy that he should go to the nearest 24-hour coffee shop and just chill out for a bit before heading home. The locals believe that if a malevolent spirit follows you, that it's important to make a pit stop to confuse them so they can't follow you home and take up residence. After some confusion of his own, the driver finally caught on and nodded in agreement. After the guy leaves, they call the station and cut the night short. They never found out what happened to the driver after that, but they all hope that he ended up okay. Story 2. I See You. We had this patient that was dying. No family. Around 3 a.m., the guy starts crying, asking why the little girl in the yellow dress was in the hospital. We assured him that there was no such little girl. He cries even more, saying that yes, she was there at the foot of his bed. I kid you not, he passed away within the next few minutes. Myself and my pod partner blame the medication he was on for giving him some hallucinations. The medication was supposed to keep him comfortable, but side effects happen. The next night, a new patient in the room. She's completely alert and oriented. About 3 a.m., she hits her call light. She wants to know why the little girl in the yellow dress was outside her room. We told her it was just her imagination, from being in a strange place and all. Not 5 minutes later, the guy in the next room goes into full cardiac arrest, and, unfortunately, we couldn't revive him. Of course, we absolutely freak out. 2 different nights, 2 different patients see the same thing, all followed by death. Story 3. Prison Rounds. My dad used to work as a correctional officer in a very rural prison. His job was to drive the perimeter, which means he made circles around the jail in a truck, checking empty buildings for runaway inmates, and just generally being bored for 8 hours every night. One night, my dad is parked on a hill, reading a magazine, when he starts feeling a thumping in his body. He described it as a feeling you get when speakers are playing a song with a really heavy bass sound, and you can feel that bass in your whole body. He puts his magazine down. He checks his rearview mirror, and he sees someone outside his truck. He grabs his gun and jumps out of the truck, weapon drawn. When he gets outside, he sees a procession of Native Americans walking through the truck, directly through his seat, only to disappear at the exact spot he was sitting. He said it was clear that they were ghosts because many of them appeared to be injured. This went on for several seconds, and then the whole procession just vanished. He called the other perimeter guy on his walkie to try to explain, and the other guy almost immediately stopped communicating. Turns out this other guy had seen this exact same thing before. He didn't believe in ghosts, so he just would not talk about it. Did not want to acknowledge that this happened. Story 4. The Boy. I'm a nurse. And while working one night, I kept feeling as if there was someone following me as I made my rounds. You know that goosebumps, hair on the back of your neck thing that you get? Yeah. So me and my aide were folding towels, and I look over my shoulder, and there stood a small boy, cute as can be, with brown hair and little short pants. I said, "Hey, did you see him?" "See what?" asked my aide. "That little boy," I replied. "Oh," she said. "Don't tell me you just now saw him." She proceeded to tell me of a little boy that had been seen around the facility quite often, almost always late at night. Sometimes you can even hear him call out, "Help! Help me, please!" But he never shows himself so soon to new employees. He likes to make sure they're going to stick around first. He followed me around most of the night until I got tired of his games and told him to just leave me alone. It's been said that he was the son of one of the residents, who passed away when he was quite young, and he is waiting for his mother to pass over. I really never believed in ghosts, but now I believe. This facility and that little boy, they've made me a believer.